Welcome to the Heat Treat Podcast, sponsored by Matza, Creo, and Super Systems.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Heat Treat Podcast, where we explore the cutting-edge developments and timeless practices in the world of heat treatment. I'm your host, Carlos Torres, and I'm excited to bring you a fascinating discussion today about the heat treatment, the future of commercial heat treatment, and some special processes. Joining us, a true, unique industry expert, Stephen Kowalski, the visionary behind Kowalski Heat Treating, which dedicates experience, a keen eye on the ever-evolving landscape to our industry, and such a character. Stephen has been at the forefront of innovation, adaptation, and excellence in commercial heat treating. Stephen, welcome to the podcast.
Wow. Thank you. That was wonderful. I'm going to go home now. I can't add anything to this now, Carlos. I'm sorry. Yeah, that was wonderful. Steve Kowalski, Kowalski Heat Treat. We've been in business. I'll make it real brief. We've been in business since 1975. So 2025 will be our 50th year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm second generation. Dad started it with the goal of providing heat treat services to the Cleveland area market and spending a lot of time with his family. Well, I know that you're in commercial heat treating, and we both know that our customers will drop work off and expect us to work magic overnight through the weekends to get them their stuff, which means that work-life balance needs to be adjusted slightly. So as we enter our 50th year, we have specialties in salt-to-salt processing, rack salt-to-salt, high-pressure quench gas processing, plasma nitriting, and heat set flattening, where we take effectively these round, flat things that aren't quite round and flat, and we fix them. We make them flat, and we ship them all over the world. So that's a little bit about us. We have 9 buildings on our campus here in Cleveland. We face Lake Erie. So we have if I turn that way, I'm looking at the lake. We have a beautiful location. People love it, easy to get to. Folks who have visited us say we actually have a wonderful view. And if you have to work, I got a great view. So that's a little bit about us.
Fantastic, Stephen. Before we dive into the technical aspect, let's start with the present. How would you describe the current state of commercial heat treating industry and business? I know that you've done this for a while. You're a commercial heat treater, very passionate about it, which we supply special processes to other fabricators or OEM. But how would you describe the current state of commercial heat treating as a business?
We'll start with exciting. We have we're a commercial heat treat, so we have competitors all over the country, and the industry is changing rapidly. There seems to be quiet changes taking place, and in some cases, not so quiet changes taking place. A lot of institutional knowledge is retiring, and although most of us will tell you we have some great staff. When you have folks that have been in your organization for 30, 40, 50 years and then they retire, sometimes they take that knowledge with them. So my part of what we talk about is capturing all of that institutional knowledge and trying to digitize it. We still see the business is still, there's still some consolidation taking place. Some companies are just leaving, they're just shutting down, which I know we all, and you've probably heard the same thing. I joke about this. We all say, gosh, we really love competition because it makes us better. And in the back of our mind, every one of us would say, I wish I had no competition because it'd be a lot easier. So it's that love-hate relationship with competition.
It is. I mean, there's some competitors that actually make your life easier by screwing jobs up but you know
I wasn't going to say that, but yes.
Having said that, I mean, there are others that are very professional and they make it tough, right? But that what drives innovation and quality and the added value, right? So that's an opportunity as well.
And it is, and it's not just Kowalski Heat Treat that does this. we have to continually reinforce with our customers all of the wonderful things that we do for them. How we will catch, and this is across the board as not just Kowalski heat treat, but competitive, our competitors. We catch the customers' problems. We catch their paperwork mistakes. We catch that they might have mixed material. We catch that they might have the wrong parts manufactured. We do a lot of assisting, and if we don't tell them, they don't appreciate it as much.
And talking about the business model of commercial heat treating before we jump up to the technical side of it.
Yeah.
Do you envision or do you see a switch or a change regarding OEMs having their stuff heat treating house, or you, as you mentioned, that since there's a lack of staff and knowledge, do you see that OEMs are outsourcing a little bit more of the work? What's your position there? What do you see?
From what our experience is, that we see OEMs more willing to outsource the components that, and I know that this is not a sales pitch, so that everyone, this is not a sales pitch, but we see them more willing to outsource the PIA jobs, the ones that are a nightmare. They just,
Right.
They don't want to deal with those. They would much rather deal with a select family of parts that they have the right equipment for, that they don't need high levels of technical expertise.
Right.
And it's not always the case, but they'll outsource more of those items that they just don't want to handle. And they may not be the highest volumes, but they could be the ones that have a little bit higher margins. Yes, there will always be those who will bring work in when you get to a certain level.
And I seen your marketing, which I love. The pages that we will take care of your this jobs.
Yep.
Right. And that's pretty true.
And it's helpful. I'm not going to disparage OEMs. Some of the technology they're using is amazing, state of the art. They can invest to process specific families, and I'm very, very good at it. We've all seen online at the various shows we go to or conferences. The technology is there; it's available. It's real good with the right amount of volume or lack of people. You can automate where you can.
And on the commercial heat treat side of business, there's your shop. You have a variety of processes. Some are more standard, let's say like quench and temper, or carburizing, vacuum. There's also salt, which is a little more niche, a niche process. I don't know, you have induction, but the induction is also very niche, especially for type of volume. But in your opinion, what's the level of different processes? How many processes can a commercial heat treat be expert on? Because if we're trying to be an expert on a specific heat treat technology, it can get very wide, right? So
Yes.
I know that some shops, they have atmosphere and salt and maybe some vacuum, but maybe some normalizing and annealing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's very every shop has like the core competitiveness, their special process. What are your insights on that?
Well, depending on the size of the organization and what, in our case, we have specific processes and industries that we want to target. One, we're very, very good at what we do, and so we want to target those industries that we can take advantage and that can benefit from our services. I'm not a believer in, and it's Kowalski heat treat. So when you ask the question, it's my humble opinion is this: do what you do really, really well, and then capitalize on it. If you can become an expert in 4 of 7 specific services and you are spectacular, really, really good, you provide your customer with value adds, with technical know-how, with the ability to meet their needs quickly and efficiently, you don't need to have every single style of heat treating equipment. We have them. Businesses do have, they'll have induction, they'll have vacuum, they'll have atmosphere, they'll have continuous, they'll have batch. You can name all the different styles of heat treating. Today, we don't think that's the best method going forward for us. Now, we are already specialized, but we have found that by being specialized, we can pick, if that's the correct word, the customers that we want to take care of. And we will guide those other customers that don't fit into our realm of services to you. You might have a continuous cast link belt furnace that does a fantastic job on normalizing and annealing. Well, I don't. So if we bring that work in our opinion is we won't satisfy the customer as well as you could. So instead of trying to solve a service that we're not fantastic at, send them your way. Partner or refer to people who can do the job better than we can. The customer in the end wins. And I've joked, if you've ever seen the movie Miracle on 34th Street, Santa Claus.
I have.
And that Santa Claus is sitting there telling people to go someplace else because they can get it at a better value. We believe in that. We believe that you if you can't provide your customer what they need, send them someplace else. Cleveland has incredible heat treaters. We have lots of good competitors. So for us, if company A down the road can actually do it better, we would send you to company A with, hey, you go talk to Billy and tell Billy Kowalski told you to call them because Billy can take care of you better than we can. You'll be a happy customer. And at some point, that commercial heat treater, whoever's doing that, becomes their go-to guy. Even if they can't do the work, you know that they'll give you the right advice.
And going to when you have those pain in the ass jobs, what are the pains? Distortion. It's always a pain.
Always pain.
It's like will be prepared to say that it's like number one.
Distortion is number one. Yes, number one. Always. Well, that's the number one.
Number one is distortion.
Would be lead times.
Lead times, okay.
Number 3 would be, ironically, communication.
Really?
Yep. If I'm going to call your organization because I have a problem and you're the heat treat guy, so I pick up the phone or I drop an email and there's no response, I still have the problem. We have something that needs to be solved. And the people we're going to ask for help, they're not responsive. So I get anxious, pissed. And if I'm the purchasing agent, or if my boss tells me, go find somebody else. We need our stuff done. And those guys aren't calling us back. They're not responding. They're not emailing on new business or existing business. And that's, we in today's age of remote working, communication has gotten, again, we're talking. It's a Friday afternoon, and these are just random thoughts that come out of my head. My wife always tells me I should not always express what's going through my mind verbally, but too bad. Those are the top 3. The 4th would most likely be, pricing. But pricing, if you have a problem, pricing's not a thing. Pricing's not a thing.
No, pricing's not a thing. When this is not all a sales pitch as well. When you have pain in the ass job, as you mentioned,
Yeah.
and you take in consideration not the cost of the process itself, but the cost that you actually save by fixing the pain in the ass job by sending it to somebody else, the gains are huge.
Oh, they're enormous.
They're enormous, but nobody talks about it. You're not gonna hit purchase. You're not gonna hear purchasing about the savings they're making by outsourcing you.
Unless that we talked earlier, that's where commercial heat treaters, and there's great commercial heat treaters. We have great competitors, really good people. Historically, I've grown up in the business. So anybody who's been in the commercial heat treat business for more than a decade or two, we hear usually the same things. You people, us heat treaters, we're too slow, too expensive, our stuff's no good, and we're dumb. And you can pick the order because depending on the week,
That's what you hear.
it's changed. That's historically until you express to your customers and reinforce the value proposition that the people who are in commercial heat treating, by and large, are very intelligent, highly skilled. They can talk and understand a wide variety of industries because of what we deal with. You can assist freely and help your customers. And our capital expenditures, as you know, buying a furnace of any sort is not inexpensive. So we invest heavy in capital to take care of our customers' needs. We all do as commercial heat treaters. So I would love, and podcasts, things of this nature, help change the way the world looks at heat treating.
What do you have to say about when companies they mark commercial heat treat as a commodity? And I actually wrote an essay about that. And I had a meeting last week with a customer, and we were actually debating why big corporations, tend to tell us, oh, heat treat commodity, right? What's your what are your thoughts?
Wow, I really have to be careful in how I phrase someone telling me it's a commodity.
Yeah,
not a commodity.
I agree. I'm with you 100%.
The value of the components, and most of our components are highly engineered, machined, stamped, forged, cast, but they're toward the end of the manufacturing cycle for what we do. We don't do a lot of raw forgings or castings. The value of the product, the vast majority is already in the part when we see it. So if 80% of the value of that component done, expensed before we see the parts, we're not a commodity. We're a highly engineered process. Because if something screws up, you're not talking about just replacing steel. You're talking about having to replace forgings or castings, all the machine time that was included. I'd suggest that what we have to do is better educate our purchasing agents. And if they think we're a commodity, maybe they need to go someplace else.
Don't you think that that's intentionally designed to make feel the commercial heat treater as a commodity, like a power plate?
Oh yeah, and we have to just push back. We're not a commodity. Without us, and we don't do it all the time because we are in business to make money. But from time to time, and I'm assuming that most of us have done it, we fire customers. I'm sorry.
I've done it. I've done it twice in my life, and it's not an easy one.
No, it's not. But it's okay. So what we're doing for you now, I will start with that we didn't do something wrong and we're not providing terrible service. If we're providing a good service to the customer, they simply don't appreciate and they treat us, or in my case, in this case, they treated my people poorly.
Right.
In my role, I have the ability and privilege to simply say, we don't want your work anymore. This relationship has not worked for both of us. You're obviously not happy. So we need you to take your work and go someplace else. And the comment was, you have to do my work. You must do my work. And in my role, it's like, I know must. I know must have to do anything. That this is not working, and we actually fired him. And from a plant morale standpoint, our plant morale, our people were thrilled. Because at some point in time, if you're doing the work and you're performing the tasks that need to be done to get the customer their work, and you hear that they're never happy, something's always wrong, or they make disparaging remarks if you're customer facing. Well, I'm not paying you, and you're not getting paid to take abuse from somebody.
Well, and especially, and if on top of that, they don't pay their bills on time, and they're complaining about quality distortion, and then you see that they're due like 30 days after the invoice.
You have a customer who doesn't pay a bill. Oh my, we've never heard of that.
Well, but that happens in business. But
Yes.
from a market perspective, are you noticing any shifts in what clients or customers are expecting from commercial heat treating providers that did not used to spec in the past?
Yes.
Now we're talking about a special process, quality audits, or considerations, new sensors. Well, in your expectation, what's fair and what's not fair, and what adds value and what's not?
We do a very good job on purchase order review, or if, and I'm a big believer in examples. So the example is, you call in, you reach out to us, you have a new program that's going to launch, and you want us to quote you the work, whatever it is. So oftentimes, we've all seen it, there's more NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, that we're all signing. So non-disclosure gets signed, and then you send us your requirements, and we review those requirements and find out that the heat treat's pretty straightforward, but then you want us to do 100% certification for hardness. And then you want us to do 100% certification for dimensions. And then you want us to take those parts, and we're going to hand wrap them and individually pack those parts into containers that need to be made. And then those are going to be put into a shelf, and all this stuff. And if you don't, as us, if we don't say each one of those is a cost, you can quickly run yourself into financial troubles, because you just spent double the expense to pack out the person's job. Oh, and you're buying all the materials. So they're asking for more and more, and we'll be glad to assist. We ship work all over the country. We pack out, we store, nothing different. We all do that. But it's by offering, you want us to warehouse your parts? Okay. You want us to only ship you when you need them? Okay. You want us to prevent them from rusting by a certain type of RP? Okay. But you do that up front, and each of those is, okay, I'm going to use a simple term, dollar, 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 dollar. And at the end of the day, it's a $10 program instead of a $1 program. But you eliminated all their asks, all their requests. They're eliminating 4 or 5 suppliers. And by us doing that, or in your case, you guys doing that, or my competitors, we're getting paid for what we do.
And if you do not review the order carefully, and you're just charging for heat treat,
correct,
right?
Yeah.
And then customer goes like, well, can you just put it on those boxes this way and put some anti-rust, and then just take a picture and measure them and weigh them. I mean, so believe it or not, I have customers that they're paying more for material handling and testing than for heat treat. So especially on aluminum, right? So I do have customers that we're also very good with that, right? Saying like, you want me to do this, and this, right? Which is 80% higher than heat treat of the part.
Yeah.
But and so that's added value, I guess, but you have to be very careful which negotiating and managing customer expectations versus what you quote.
Absolutely correct. And you
So,
mentioned sensors and those kind of things.
on a nutshell, so customers are getting more demanding on processes that are parallel to heat treat, like packaging or testings, measurements, that those were not very important before.
No, and we have, and it's unique because we understand as commercial heat treaters, I think we do a very good job in the industry of understanding what our customers need from the start of their manufacturing process until the parts get to us, and then what happens afterwards. But I don't think our customers do a really good job of understanding how they can adversely affect their own process by what they do. What cutting oils they use, what RPs they put on their parts before they come to you or come to us, what kind of packaging material they use. It's never good to put 3,000 pounds of metal parts into a cardboard box and think it's going to be okay, both in transportation or in warehousing. Or if you have parts that have edges that can be nicked, then if your customer's tossing them into a bin and you're expected to maintain surface condition,
Sure.
it's a challenge, or can be.
And from your market perspective, are you noticing any shifts in what uh, industries are driving a demand for a particular process?
Well, automotive demands always drives a bunch of stuff, but our industries that we're in, we are not in aerospace. Full disclosure, we do not have NADCAP. We're not in aerospace. It's not a market that we are aggressively wanting to service. It's just not our business. Military, there's significant growth in military. There's significant growth in personal protection devices. Medical, we look at those. We look at mining will always be a thing.
Yeah.
Petrochemical will always be a thing. Cars, I think their demise is not going to happen overnight on the gas-powered vehicles. It'll be delayed. There'll be a transition. And agriculture. So we look at what we service, and there's always, but those are the markets that we see some growth in. We see people are talking about reshoring, and there has been some of our customers that have come back from overseas. They've come back from China. They've come back from Europe. They've come up from Mexico, come back from Canada. So they're not everybody. And then you have some that go back the other way. So that's a constant flow for us of
I'm
reshoring.
talking and taking a step back because I believe what you mentioned is pretty interesting. That right now, especially in America, things are gonna change,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But what do you see commercial heat treat as a whole in the next 10 or 20 years? Do you think it will look dramatically different from today, or we're gonna see some slight changes?
Well, 10 years is the number, and 20 years is a big number.
It is.
Okay. So those are two huge.
Let's start with 10.
Okay. I would have, if we had been speaking 5 years ago or 4 years ago before COVID, I would have said there would have been a moderate amount of change. You'll have some folks who will get out of the business, some folks get in the business, but it wouldn't be dramatic. Today, in 10 years, I see our industry changing dramatically. I don't see as many commercial heat treaters staying in business.
You don't.
I do not. I see folks way older than me looking at transitions, at trying to either getting acquired or just closing down. It's because commercial heat treating can be incredibly fun. There's no question we can have a tremendous amount of fun, but it's also can be taxing, challenging. 20 years, absolutely more automation. No question about it.
Automation.
Absolutely. And as automation becomes more flexible down to this, a lot of the assembly, a lot of the basket, the racking, those kind of things, I would expect to see those with more cobots. We'll have an operator and assistant, and however that looks, so that things can be done easier. Processing, I can see induction growing simply because of certain applications. I can absolutely see salt to salt. It's not going to grow a tenfold, but there are a number of applications where salt is by far, in our opinion, the best way to process. And as products get re-engineered to be stronger but lighter, well, if you have a really thin part, more potential for distortion. So that has to be addressed in the commercial heat treat world. And how do we address those kind of problems? How do we help our customers drive out inefficiencies and help them engineer something so that it can be heat treated successfully? So AI is going to be a role. It's going to be a thing for us. So,
And based on what you mentioned, which I hadn't thought about that, but makes a lot of sense. A lot of commercial heat treaters are going to close because they don't have a way to a second generation or somebody to delegate with. But then we're going to start to see a more, less heat treaters, but heavily specialized, right? Demand and supply, right?
I would agree with that. Yeah.
But processes are going to continue to get more specific, more quality driven, tight tolerances. Do you think we will continue to see a balance between large scale facilities and smaller specialized ones? Because sometimes we talked about a lot of volume,
Yes.
right? To be profitable, we talked about it.
Yeah.
But I know some heat treaters that they do not heat treat volume; they're very specialized.
Right.
And on my side, I would love to see high margin parts. Instead of running 24/7, right?
Yeah.
What's your approach to that? Do you or who will dominate, or is there going to be a balance? But the lesser commercial heat treaters there are, the less supply, right?
Correct.
But the demand is going to be more specific, more quality focused, more quicker.
Now, anybody who knows me understands that I am a absolute glass half full. Optimistic, very optimistic. We are a specialized heat treat company. Anybody who knows us, we are a specialized. We do certain things really, really well, and certain things we don't do at all. We literally don't do them. So with that, from a practicality standpoint, a company can be a division of a large commercial heat treat conglomerate that has multiple plants, but those plants may end up being more specialized, so that whoever that company is, you can invest capital to optimize on, let's say, quench pressing of a family of parts. Well, why do you want 10 divisions or 10 plants that have possibly a quench press when you have 1 or 2 plants that specialize in that, so that you can, as best as possible, engineer in efficiency, engineer out the potentials for problems? Then the customers, which are out there, our customers, all of ours, I would see them having, let's say they might have less choice, but better options. In that, no, you're not going to go to 50 plants, you're going to go to 4, but those 4 plants will absolutely take care of you. So I could see you can pick the large firms in the country, and I could see them evolving that they would actually have specialized locations and only do a thing or 2 things in that location. And then transportation wise, bring it in. Because most of those components, if they're highly specialized, freight's not the problem. If you have a high value part, freight's not a problem. If it's low value commodity, that's not our business. So it's that then you're stuck in a commodity, you're stuck in your commodity business.
So, follow up on this one. What advice would you give to companies looking to stay ahead and in business in this rapidly changing landscape?
Wow. Um, uh, not have a um, what's the I'm trying to phrase this. We're privately held. So we're not a publicly traded company. I don't have to, and we don't have to worry about the stock market. We don't
Right.
have to worry about satisfying shareholders every quarter or on an annual basis. So when we look at investments on the capital side, we obviously would love to be able to have an ROI of 12 months. You pay off the equipment in 12 months. That'd be great. But if you see that you're going to invest in something, it could be automation, that may take you 12 months to 18 months to optimize it, you're not going to see a return for a couple of years.
You're not.
But once you perfect what you have or make it very, very functional, then you're able to, you call us and say, hey, I've got this job. And if you hadn't, or we hadn't invested 2 years ago, we wouldn't be able to help you today. So your question is, if commercial guys, the private ones specifically, I would say, have a longer view of their capital. Publicly held, since I'm not in that world, I can't comment, but if you need to have your equipment paid for in 12 to 18 months, it's a shorter term view. Not that it's not right or wrong, it's just different. And that might prevent you from investing in something that will not get you a return, but you know that if you have it and you have done this, that you're automating a number of your batch lines. Well, you're not going to see anything for 3 years, but once you do, then the folks that you have employed can be more valuable, and the folks that are retiring, you have options. So
Especially when you're private, you're trying to build the business, not satisfying the shareholders every quarter, like you mentioned. You're
correct.
trying to have a nice, solid business, have your customer happy, have a long time relationship, and make business. You're thinking about 20 years.
Correct.
Uh, the
Correct.
other, if you're going public, I mean, you want to keep the stock guys happy,
You have to, and
and
that's nothing. I mean, that's a thing, and there's nothing
so
wrong.
that's very two different ways to handle the business. But I will agree with you. Uh, Steve, this has been an incredible discussion. I learned so much about the trends and transformation about commercial heat treater. Your opinion, where do you think it's going? Before we wrap up, and I like to always ask my guests on the podcast about this. Uh, is there an advice, a personal story that you would like to share with the new generation of heat treaters? Uh, to ask this in a different way. If you could give an advice to your younger self,
Yeah.
right? Go back in time and tell your 20-year-old self an advice that you learned through your careers, not on the book, not on the books, what it would be.
Okay. Give me 5 seconds
No worry.
while I think about it. Because it's a combination answer. First and foremost, have fun.
Have fun.
Have fun. If you're not having fun, and it's not that we're dancing and singing all day long, enjoy what you do.
Enjoy what you do.
If you don't, leave. Find something else. So number one, I have fun. Second, me, I do not know everything. And anybody, my kids will tell you that, and my wife will tell you, I don't know everything. So every single day, I learn something new. And I ask questions. So the advice would be to the people just starting out, ask the questions. You don't have the answers. How could you? Some of the answers come from experience. And don't be shy of asking. and ask as many as you want. The worst someone's going to tell you is, I don't have the answer, stop asking. The best is you get the answer and you now have someone that you've met that you know that you can call sometime in the future to bounce ideas off. So ask questions, have fun. Life's too short. Don't take yourself too seriously because you're going to screw up. Okay, you're not going to screw up. Someone on this side of the computer screen is going to screw up. Own it and move on. And that would be, if they can do that day in and day out, I think that we could grow a whole generation of folks who are they're inquisitive, they're nosy. Don't be embarrassed about not knowing. I mean, none of us could have known cell phones. None of us could have known the cameras that you and I are working with today, the computers that we're on. Things change. Let's learn them and have fun doing it.
So have fun. Ask questions. What's the third one again?
Don't take yourself too seriously.
Don't tell you. Can I add something to that one? And make friends along the journey.
Yes, that's that's having the fun.
For me, I do share your vision totally. And this industry has, led to know a lot of good friends and make friends and know a lot of interesting guys like yourself, right, that I can learn from. So thank you very much for your comments. Thank you again for joining us and sharing us your insights. I had a blast, Steve. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share it with your network. Subscribe and leave a comment for Steve. I will share with him. Stay curious, stay innovative like Steve, and we'll see you the next time on the podcast. And remember, if you have a pain in the ass job, this is the guy to call. He'll solve your life, right? And he'll give you 3% on commission, right?
Ooh, nice.
Right? All right. So thank you again, Steve. It's been a pleasure. And I hope to see you very soon on an event, a show, and keep having fun. Keep doing what you're doing.